Ladies and gentlemen, hello. We are back for episode 2 of
Yes.
the Chamber Pod.
And there's a
So,
lot to talk about.
yes, and if you
Like, oh my God.
yeah, if you guys listen to our last episode, I made some predictions. And obviously I won those predictions cuz Chance said
Yes.
something otherwise, and
This is
I literally texted him saying, "I told you so." And I was like, "Wait for the episode for when we go off." So,
yes.
pretty much we're gonna get to the main thing that we're both talking about in a second, but Chance, how'd you feel with last week's episode?
I had fun, man. It was good to talk about some of the topics, man. We ran over time,
Yeah,
so it was easier than we expected. We
yeah,
just kept flowing. And
yeah,
yeah, man, I enjoyed passing the knowledge down. Yeah.
yes, exactly, yes. And we are I'm gonna keep time of the see how far we go, but it's gonna be all good. We're here to talk wrestling. That's what we're
yes.
best at. So yeah, so we're gonna open up. I'm gonna begin with this question. Chance, last week, we recorded right before SmackDown. We had a conversation about LA Knight and pretty much what was going to happen. He had that Fatal 4-Way Invitational match, whatever the hell it was called. And,
I thought there was no way he was losing,
yeah,
man. I
Chance had him winning. I didn't because I know how stupid WWE can be. And like they had something so beautiful just ready. Like you make him win tonight, and then Theory, you fight him Theory at SummerSlam, and boom, the crowd. I mean, just imagine that pop. And
dude, we had a whole conversation about all sorts of reasons that was a good idea.
yes, exactly. And then not only did he lose, but it turns out that match isn't even going to be on SummerSlam. That match between Theory and the winner of tonight is not even going to be on SummerSlam. It's going to be on SmackDown, on some episode of SmackDown. Like, can you believe that? So they screwed themselves over. So Chance, I want to ask you, man, what happens with LA Knight now? Like, where do you even go from here? Like tonight, apparently, according to rumors, they're gonna set him up for a segment and a match at SummerSlam. Today is gonna be like the segue to that, and maybe we'll come back next week with happy news. But as of now, what do you do with LA Knight? Like, what do you think?
Man, it's a tough spot, right? He's gonna have to go out there at SummerSlam and yeah his way into some sort of
Yeah,
match. Right, you know what I mean? He's
yeah,
got to go in there and do something tremendous. He's got to promo his way into something. I don't know, man. It's a tough spot, but at the same time, since they're not having this freaking blow off for the tournament actually happen
yeah.
at SummerSlam, I'm curious, is the ending of it on SmackDown gonna like be stupid and then they just move it to SummerSlam, which would just be so like but they could also do it and just get this tournament out of the way because clearly they screwed up and now they can just have
Yeah,
this match and then they can have LA Knight challenge for the belt at SummerSlam, but the whole thing would just be really frustrating anyway.
yeah, yeah, and but the thing is too, like apparently there's a rumor, and and some of these people, these sources are correct most of the time. Apparently his segment at SummerSlam is gonna be with somebody returning, and I was talking with Joel about it, and we bring up a good point. There's people who have been talked about rumored to return, like Carlito, Randy Orton possibly coming back. If you bring back, let's just take those two for example, they're gonna come back as a face. Everybody wants LA Knight to come back to be a face. What do? You're gonna have face versus face. I think they're gonna try to present him as a heel if one of those two come back. Like, don't you think?
It's a tough spot, man, because I know that this is something that we were going to get to, and you were also talking about it. I mean, another person they're talking about returning that LA Knight could potentially interact with could be the man he was last seen with,
Yeah, yeah,
And there's no telling what they do with that.
yeah,
Um, I think that would be a horrific mistake as well, you know.
yeah.
I I think that, but if they have him against a returning heel, even it's like just because someone's returning, that alone's going to give whoever momentum,
Exactly. Yeah.
unless it's like the returning Shane McMahon.
Oh yeah, that
like,
that nah. You give LA Knight. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, so I don't know. We have to see what happens. I guess I would love to see what the returns are, man. like you said, there's a lot of stirrings backstage that SummerSlam is supposedly gonna have some surprises, man. And I don't know, it's
Yeah,
got me excited. It feels
yeah,
almost like the Royal Rumble, you know. It's
yeah,
like we're getting promised some cool
yeah.
stuff, man.
And
And
we got one.
especially
Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
the fact that they're talking about returning people, and we're also talking about like the elders and the tribal court. It's also interesting, man. Like there's no telling what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
I think something pivotal is gonna go down.
yeah. We actually have a topic about returns at SummerSlam coming up, but yeah, no, man. I think honestly the way to go, right, is you have him come out, in SummerSlam. He does his he does all the usual, and you have Grayson Waller come out, dude. Grayson Waller is a great heel right now.
Oh yeah.
He's not like a returning wrestler. Them on the mic against each other. Could you imagine that? Like,
Dude, it would be
yo.
good.
So
It
like,
would him
yeah,
coming out on the show would just be so funny. You know what I mean?
yes,
Like LA and I would blow it apart. Like, and the crowd would be such a big role there.
yeah,
And I don't know. I think it would be great for both of them too. It'd be a
yeah,
great use of both of the like newer talent on the scene
exactly,
within
yeah.
WWE and in the main roster
I
especially.
agree. Yeah, I agree. So I'm really hoping that's the case. I hope the returning thing is made up and not true. But if somebody does return, it'd be dope. So we'll see. But Chance, what you got? What's your question right now?
Well, my question's really, I mean, well, just recent news. I mean, literally recent as in today, we actually
Yeah,
found out that Chris Hero is a new backstage producer within AEW, man. So I guess my question to you is like, I mean, Tony Khan's like been signing some of these guys that have been like excellent
yeah,
minds for the business, and like this guy. I mean, dude, he's been on the indie scene forever. I mean, he's seen and done basically like all of the stuff
yeah.
you can do as a professional wrestler. And so I guess my question to you, man, is just like how do you feel that these like outside guys kind of coming in and help kind of shape the product's going to affect it moving forward? I mean, I
Yeah,
feel like it's been a positive thing when they had like guys come in, like when they had William Regal come in, man. That I mean, he was a
yeah.
great mind for the business, and I feel like it's a similar situation here. So I mean, like, what do you think about that, man?
So I think it's a great move, especially since like Tony Khan is the owner of Ring of Honor as well. And if you don't know, Chris Hero is an absolute legend coming from Ring of Honor, and a lot of his exposure came from that area. I
Yes.
think just having him there and just giving that experience and just like kind of like helping not only the younger talent, and also like I'm sure he's gonna be used a lot for the Ring of Honor stuff. I'm sure it's gonna be something like a blessing in disguise, and I think that going with him is the right move. Obviously, a lot of people remember his horrible run in WWE as a Cassius Ono,
Yeah, Cassius Ohno,
whatever his name was, stupid as hell.
which was
But
just disrespectful to the
yeah,
man.
yeah, and like he gained a bunch of weight, and it was just this whole mess. Um, but I've always remembered Chris Hero. Like I remember when he was like teaming with like uh Cesaro. I always call him Cesaro. Like I know he has like Castanoli or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
but like all that stuff. So you bring in that veteran presence, and like it's like when WWE has like Sean running NXT, and like you have Road Dogg as a producer, or Bruce Pritchard. Like you're bringing people who have been in the business, have wrestled in the
Yeah.
business, and have a taste for success. You're gonna bring them in, and they're gonna help not only pushing up the older generation, but also pushing up the new up and comers. So I think it's a great move. What do you think?
Yeah, man, I think it's a great move. I mean, because I mean, you need all the minds you can get backstage. You need all the
Yeah,
like veteran experience, and like you said, especially with Ring of Honor right now, man. I think getting that play for specifically Ring of Honor can be big right now
yeah,
because like Tony's kind of really like AEW is obviously his baby. Like he bought Ring of Honor and that's awesome, and he's been booking Ring of Honor,
yeah,
but it's like this is someone who could step in and really be a voice for Ring of Honor's
yes,
identity, and I think that would be great because I mean, you obviously have a bunch of legends of Ring of Honor in
yeah,
AEW that are
yeah,
going to be a voice for that. I mean, you have Brian Danielson. I mean, you got CM Punk. I mean, come on, you have Samoa Joe. So
yeah,
it's like there's people there that are going to be like really invested in this product, and I think having someone that's like as invested in an actual like producer role, I feel
yeah,
like is going to be great. You know what I mean? I
exactly.
feel like
Yeah,
he's going to be that guy backstage getting more Ring of Honor guys on Dynamite. He's going to be trying to get him on AEW, so I think it's going to be great for both promotions. I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what sort of angles they do moving forward. I'd love to see some sort of like Ring of Honor invasion
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
That could be interesting. Or at the very least, I feel like they could do a like a Survivor Series
Yeah.
type thing. I mean, because they have Forbidden Door. I don't see why they couldn't have some sort of AEW Ring of Honor pay per view. I
Yeah.
think that would be awesome to make a mainstay moving
Yeah.
forward. That's what I think, man. I think if you're
Yeah.
gonna beef up Ring of Honor, though, you got to bring in people who were there, and he was
Yeah.
there for a lot of it.
Well, and one thing too, like to kind of bring it to the point of just the veteran presence, like I didn't even mention these people. Every time nowadays, every time we hear about a good like female match in WWE, it's either produced by Abyss, also known as Joseph Park, whatever it was, or
Yes.
uh who's the other one? It's always him. I've heard Jason Jordan even producing. Like you have these people who have so much experience in the ring, and Abyss does such an amazing job at producing these matches, and they always come out fire because that man was a legend in TNA. So
Oh,
like,
dude, he was like one of the
yeah,
biggest
yeah.
monster heels in the entire company, man.
Exactly.
It,
So like to have somebody like that, I think bringing in Chris Hero, because AEW needs more of that, of like people who've done it, who've done like all the work, and even I mean, I don't know if you heard about this, but Orange Cassidy has also been serving as an agent and a
yeah, he
producer.
got a new position.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
I mean, he understands the indies very well. You
yeah,
know what I mean? He
yeah,
understands like how to get a specific crowd
yeah.
going, dude. And
So
I
that's
think
what
it's
I'm saying.
great.
So it's the same thing with anything, in any job that you need different positions. You always want to bring people who already have experience to this. So and another person I forgot, Jamie Noble is another one who everybody's praising as a
Yeah,
producer, and Finley. All these names are just popping up in my head. All these people that have just had so much
I mean
success in the
Shane
ring.
Helms.
Shane
Yeah.
Helms, that's right. Yep, the Hurricane. Yep. All these people who've had that experience in the ring, translated so well into the product. So I think anytime you do that, it's gonna be good. So having Chris Hero, I don't know how he is personality wise, but I'm sure that he's a great guy. So I think it was a great move, and I think that I think they did a great job hiring him, and then moving also Orange Cassidy into that role as well.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's like AEW's been kind of built by its veteran presence. I mean, you look at that first year, and like Chris Jericho was helping like do a
Yeah,
lot,
yeah,
and it's like people and like Sting was helping do like a lot, like when they
yeah,
first came in. And it's like I
yeah,
think every new mind that comes in kind of
yeah,
helps mature the product in a little bit. Because I mean,
yeah,
really, it's like if you think about it, man, it's like Tony Khan is for real, like in real life playing GM mode right now.
yeah,
Like he just
yeah.
like
He is.
he got the money, and he's just trying to get his best roster he
Yeah,
can to make this happen. And
exactly.
he's still learning about the business as well. So it's like, yeah, I think it was a great move
Yeah,
all around.
100%. Yeah.
So what you got next, my man?
So my next question to translate it back into WWE and also SummerSlam that is coming up. And by the way, next week we will be making predictions for the match, and then we'll
Yes.
be determining winner gets something, loser has to do something. So we'll make it a little bit exciting for you guys. So next week tune in for that. But back to SummerSlam, and we just mentioned something about returning people. There's been this rumor circulating that Bray Wyatt, we talked
Yes.
about him last week. We talked about if he came back. There's this rumor apparently that he will return against somebody who's world champion. So this could go either if Seth retains, he can attack him. If Finn wins the belt, he can attack him. If Roman retains, he can attack him. Or if Jay wins, which would be dope, he could attack him. So we have 4 options. Now, my question to you, Chance, which one would you prefer for him to attack, as meaning like person, and which one would you least want him to attack between the 4 people?
For me, I think the implications of Roman retaining and Bray coming back and attacking Roman would be really interesting. But at the
Yeah.
same time, everyone also still kind of knows Cody's the dude, right?
Yes.
So it's one of those things where it would be exciting, but I don't know how excited I'd be able to gauge myself unless
Yeah.
something absolutely dramatic happened during the match that was like, okay, bloodline is shifting towards Bray Wyatt now.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if Jay won, it would be awesome. Just because but I think Jay winning is a moment that just needs to be that.
Yeah.
I think
Exactly.
Bray coming back would just kind of jack that up. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. No, I don't.
I don't
No, I
really.
mean, when you're dethroning Roman Reigns, it has to be its own thing.
Yeah, and it's funny because as I've stewed and thought on this, and it's funny because we had a brief discussion
Yeah.
about this earlier, and I literally said I think if he came back against Seth, it would be a disaster. But looking back, that could be the best one, man. I don't know. It could be very interesting. I think either Seth or Finn would be really interesting
Yeah.
for two reasons. Finn was the first person he attacked and came out against, and he beat Finn at SummerSlam, and that was
That's
the
right.
first time Finn
Yep.
had ever lost at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So that has implication as well. And with Seth and Bray, the history is obviously there. I mean, the Hell in
Yeah.
a Cell matches, the match in Saudi, him beating Seth
Yeah.
for the title, him turning all the fans against Seth in the match
Yeah.
that he didn't win. You know,
Yeah.
so if they're trying to right that wrong, it could be really interesting. But I think it could be risky that you'd get some people with PTSD of Bray versus Seth again. I don't know. I don't know if it's too early to rush
Yeah.
him into a belt situation again. I don't because if
That's
he's
true.
not going to win, man, people are going to get mad. But looping back to almost what we said earlier, man. Now picture this scenario: Seth retains or something. The Fiend comes out to attack Seth, and then LA Knight comes out. He's like, nah. And he clears the ring, bro, and
Yeah.
challenges with a triple threat, like or something. I don't know, but
Because like
that
Bray
would
Wyatt was the last person he
to
fought. I mean,
beat
well,
LA Knight.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
that's what
know,
I'm
and
saying. Like,
Royal Rumble.
and Bray Wyatt and LA Knight. Yeah, so it's like, man, could you imagine that? You know, like who knows?
Yeah.
Because if that could be a route. If LA Knight wants to beat Bray and get that dub back, like I don't know, man. It could
That'd
be
be
interesting.
something. Yeah.
I think it would be a weird move, but you know, it could be cool. You know,
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
I think there's a million different things they can do with it, man. I'm just worried that if they put Bray in a title picture too fast, I don't see him beating
100%.
another
Yeah.
person. You
Yeah.
know? And it would be such a curveball in the bloodline story that I don't think they would do it.
They
It would
won't.
make
Yeah.
with Seth. I feel like he's not exactly on a run right now where I feel like Seth is holding on to it forever. I feel like Seth could realistically lose. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
It-
100%.
so that's one of those things where, like, if Bray beats Seth, they just have to be very careful about the next step. You know what I mean? And it's like, do they do Gunther and Bray? Like, what do they do?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's another question. I mean, with Gunther, and he's going to be moving up to the title picture soon if he loses to Drew at SummerSlam. I mean, I don't know if you think he's losing or not, but it's like
That's
it's-
that's
there's
a
so many
that
moving
should
parts.
that's a question for next week because that's a big title match. Nobody's really talking about it, but if Gunther wins, he breaks the record. Like he's gonna like I think the Honky Tonk record is like a couple days after SummerSlam, so he's guaranteed to break it if he beats Drew. But are you gonna have Drew beat him? Like we'll get into it next week because we could go into a whole thing about that because that's a big one and nobody's like really thinking about that.
Yeah.
But then if you have Drew return and then make him lose again, like I don't know, yo. But we'll get to that next week. But what you are saying is very true, and I think that you bring up a great point with every one of them. Were you done? I'm sorry. I don't.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think you bring up an excellent point for all of them. I think my least favorite would be Jay. Obviously, I'll combine Jay and Roman because like that's kind of both like. Well, actually no. If I had to rank them, Jay the worst because it's like we said, that moment needs to be on its own. You're talking about somebody winning, beating somebody that had the belt for almost 4 years. It just 3 years. Sorry, it just wouldn't work. Like it just makes no sense. So I think that that would be the worst. Roman, it depends how they end the match with Jay. Like if he beats him clean, then I can see something like that happening. Like kind of just teasing. But at the end of the day, I'm with you. Like even just this rumor being a thing is a problem because you're setting him up for any championship match, and I don't think he needs that right now. I think he just needs to regain the momentum that he lost because of just how trash the run was. So Roman would be there. Now, my favorite one would actually be Finn. I think because the rivalry between Seth and Finn isn't like this like crazy rivalry that's been building up for years. I mean, it has been because they brought in when Seth injured him and everything. But like it's one of those where like if you moved on, it's fine. Unlike the bloodline kind of thing. So what I think can happen is Seth loses because Seth can lose. I think Seth can lose this belt, like because it hasn't been a crazy run or anything, and they do need to start moving some belts around because Theory's held it for so long. What's his face? Gunther has held it for so long. Obviously Roman. The only one that's changed recently has been Oscar winning the belt, but Rey has held it for a good while. They got to do something. The tag belts have been on Sammy and Kevin for a while, so I think Seth loses. Oh, I'm spoiling my prediction. I'm gonna tell you straight up. I think Seth is losing, and then that will lead to Bray coming out and doing something with Finn because before Bray disappeared, he was built as a face, I believe, because LA Knight was the heel. So you're gonna have Judgment Day versus Bray, which can also introduce this new YEAHH faction that everybody's been talking about.
That's a great point.
So that's what I got.
Yeah, I think if you have something where Bray comes out and Bray versus a faction would really be a much better way of introducing all these new characters.
Yes.
Because if you're wanting Bray as the face, having him jump LA Knight with all these dudes, you know what I mean, was very face-like.
Yeah.
And I think the original idea was probably that LA Knight is just good, and it would be good to throw him in there with, you know what I mean. But it just wasn't thought out that great.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And I think having him versus a group, especially like him versus the Judgment Day, could be interesting in a ton of ways because you have Damian Priest with the Money in the Bank, so you could kind of be planting the seeds that like Bray's not even trying to win the belt. Maybe he comes back and he's trying to split up the Judgment Day. Like now that could be very interesting.
That would be dope. Yeah,
you have Damian with the Money in the Bank. You know what I mean? Like, and Bray's always kind of been like about like corrupting people and stuff. And I mean, Damian hasn't betrayed him yet. You know, maybe you have Damian come out and interfere on Seth to set up Finn winning to be like, oh, the Judgment Day is really tight, and then Bray comes out, and that's actually what's going to be the beginning of the end. You know?
I like that
because getting into absolutely fantasy booking territory, man, I would love to see the Judgment Day have a massive implosion at some point. And what I think the best possible thing would be at one point is just Dom hitting Rhea with the chair, bro. Like that would send him into a different level, and that would put Rhea as a face again, and that's what she needs to be. Could you imagine, bro? Dom hits like he hits her with the freaking chair. That would be amazing. Like Dom would be the biggest bad guy. He would top MJF if he hit her with the chair. Like that, like it's like you know what I mean? Like maybe he gets mad that she keeps like accepting these challenges for him and stuff. Like he loses his belt and she's out there comforting him and he just like
no, I'm with you. I 100% am with you, and I think that is, dude. I think personally, I know this is probably a hot take. If he did something like that, he takes over most heel wrestler in pro wrestling. I don't care MJF. I don't care Roman. He's like, taking over that spot.
It would be the greatest thing ever. Like, oh my god. But that's like off topic almost. You know, that's like getting way far ahead of ourselves to the absolutely fantastic explosion of the Judgment Day that hopefully is caused by the interweavings of Bray Wyatt after Seth loses to Finn this Sunday. Because bro, Finn has a great summer. Well, but Finn also has a great SummerSlam record, and that's always kind of been talked about within his character until I mean, he got beat by Bray, but he wasn't beaten as the I was about to say the Fiend, the Demon. I mean, because Finn as the Demon has never been beaten at SummerSlam. It's like a streak that's like 7 years strong. So it's like,
I
like,
don't know, man. Yeah, you're right.
And does he come out as the freaking Demon? Like, I mean, SummerSlam was the one time a year he would. So it's like, there's a lot, man. Like,
there's a lot that can play into it, and I think
also,
that
Edge beat the Demon. So it's like he's got,
which I still find stupid. Like, if we were making chamber pods back then, I would have been like, if you were gonna have him lose like that, just have him come out as Finn. Like, I
also agree with that.
He should have won.
It was Brood Edge or whatever, but like
it wasn't even Brood Edge. Like, he didn't even come out to the song, man. Anyways, that's a whole different discussion for another day. But anyways, to bring it back into topics, Chance, what is your next question, my guy?
I want to talk about Saturdays, Jose. I want to talk about AEW Collision, and I
Oh,
want to talk
nice.
about the happy man on the cover of those TV shows.
Oh boy.
CM Punk, man. I mean,
CM Punk.
since he's come back, he's been pretty freaking polarizing. I would say it's
He's
like every
lost a
time he,
lot.
yeah, he has been pinned by Ricky Starks. It was in like a cheater kind of way,
Yeah.
and then in the tag match, Darby was actually the one that was pinned.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I guess my question is, he's been making these sounds. He's been coming back. Some people love him. Some people hate him. Don't you think it's kind of ironic that he's basically become 2011 Cena? Like, do you feel like this has kind of come full circle in a bit of a way? You know?
Yeah. It's tough, and here's why I say it's tough. Because with 2011 Cena, obviously we've heard the stuff about Alex Riley, how he didn't want him getting pushed or anything, but there was nothing really personal about John Cena. John Cena was just this superhuman that WWE pushed to the moon and just made him the absolute star. But nobody can deny how great a person Cena was as just a human, like just as a person. So Cena, he always had that reputation, but at the end of the day, like if you were like, all right, real life, real talk, how we feeling about Cena? Everybody would be like, he's a great guy, lovable.
100%.
Everybody. Now with Punk, everybody knows we don't need to get into the brawl out that happened after what was it, All Out, whatever.
Yeah, the all out brawl out,
Yeah,
bro.
All Out brawl out. Nobody needs to get into that, but you're talking about real life situations that involve the lawsuit. I don't know if it's been settled or whatever, but
I don't believe so.
real life fights. He called out Colt Cabana and his mom. Like it's just like it was insane. So I think Punk. I don't think he's at that 2011 Cena level because, as a company man, he is. I guess I can break it up. My answer to two things. As a company man, I think so because Tony Khan, I'm sure, loves the hell out of Punk and wants to push him to the moon. And I think eventually I think he's the one that beats MJF again for the belt. I don't know how they're gonna tie that in, but it's gonna happen.
It could be interesting.
It could be interesting. So I think that's what happens. But as far as a person and the reason why people are so divided about him, I don't think he's close to Cena because with Cena, people were just, it's the same with Triple H in the 2000s era. He just got pushed to the moon and buried everybody. But the reason people don't like Punk now is because he's very obnoxious and, he says what he feels and like he's never going to hold anything back. So I guess my answer is yes and no, if that makes any sense. What do you think?
For me, it's like I think yes in the sense of like kind of the position in the company he has kind of
Yes,
found himself,
exactly.
and I feel like as this goes on, we're gonna kind of start to see that like the fans might start to reject him, especially if
Yeah,
he starts getting pushed as like the guy on
yeah,
Collision. I'm not sure because I mean he came out with
yeah,
that like title thing that was in the bag or whatever that he was
yeah,
talking about that he never got pinned for, and then that like where did that even go? But I mean
yeah.
it's kind of I guess the Owen Hart tournament thing's kind of taken over, and I mean I was just I don't know. I'm interested, man. I hope they be careful with it. And I mean, I'm sure they're going to be careful with it. But
Yeah,
like, and CM Punk's a smart dude, and he's going to feed into it one way or the other.
yeah.
But at this point, I almost feel like he might need to become heel, man, because it's like
That
we're
was
going to
my
hit a
next
point,
point. Yeah.
like and it's like the longer we move on, it's going to be kind of a slow turn, and we might get that double turn between I don't know Punk and MJF at some
Yo.
point. Who
Yeah.
knows, man?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's all sorts of things that could happen, man. I mean, because that's like MJF, like he beat Punk twice in Chicago that one night, but then he didn't win the feud.
Yeah.
He lost the feud, but it was because of Wardlow as well. And
That's
another thing
true.
that we haven't really explored is like, dude, why hasn't Wardlow fought MJF? This is absolutely stupid that Wardlow hasn't fought MJF.
Dude, the
He
way they
destroyed MJF in that match. It was atrocious.
the way
Like,
they have treated Warlow is a war crime. Like at
it's
this point,
ridiculous.
he just needs to go because like we'll get into that, with the MJF stuff because you're completely right. But you have him lose to Luchasaurus, like what? Like for the belt? What was that? Like
It
this
felt like
dude?
he lost to one half of a tag team.
Yeah, it's
Like not a good single star. Like
it's a rare occasion where I will say, and I guess I could have said it for Cody too, where I feel like he would thrive better in WWE.
oh, dude, yeah, and they would just name him like John War, and he would just fucking kill everybody. Like,
The Low War.
honestly, I hate to say it, but you're right. But if they just let
Yeah,
him stay him, and Triple H probably would keep him very similar, just have him run through NXT and kill
yeah,
everybody, go beat Braun Breaker, and then
yeah.
send him to the main roster. You know.
Braun Breaker. That's another one. And I guess that just came up. I just came up with a question. That we can
Right.
go after this. But anyways, so yeah, back to the topic. So I think you are 100% right. The thing that AEW can correct that WWE never did, and I mean it worked out eventually because everybody loves Cena now, was they
Right.
never turned them heel. Never turned them. Especially that feud with Kane with the whole Rise Above Hate. That was the perfect time to turn him heel, and they didn't. I think AEW can fix that and turn CM Punk heel. CM Punk as a heel is probably top 5 greatest heels of all time.
Oh, dude, yes.
So
Like,
they need to capitalize on it. They have to. You
and
cannot botch this.
in a perfect world, all participants healthy and willing and all good to go, man. If he went on a heel run and then just started picking at some of the old flames of like his old career and stuff, like man, first guy after the heel turn, you match him up with Jeff Hardy, bro. Could you? He just kills him. You- Could you imagine? Like, or if you had.
Yo,
And then you just have him go and like kind of hunt some people
yeah.
down for a little bit, but then eventually he's got to go after the elite man. It's like I wouldn't
Oh
mind seeing Kenny
man.
just I wouldn't mind seeing Kenny get the belt again, and then
Yeah.
it's like Punk shows up, like like,
Dude, that'd be
like
crazy.
it would be so, dude. It's like this is just pure fantasy booking, but
Yeah.
it's like you have Kenny win the belt, right, and then Punk comes out immediately and he's holding the belt he had, and it's like the double title thing from
Yeah.
WWE, like, and he
Yep.
just like with the like,
Yeah. That'd be
like it would be,
dope. Yeah, that would work.
but
That would work.
that's
And
where
the
I'm at
feuds,
with it.
man. The feuds that he could have. You can have it with the elite, like you said, Jeff Hardy. You can do it with a face MJF if you wanted to. Uh,
Which yeah, which
all
I would
these.
love for MJF to
Yeah.
get that win back if I'm honest. Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I agree.
we'll,
So
we'll see.
yeah, we'll see. But my next question, and this could be the final question of the night.
All
Um,
right.
I was talking. I was in the car with my brother Joe earlier, and we were listening to some wrestling theme songs, and Evolution's theme song started playing, and we
Ooh.
were listening to it. And Evolution, if you didn't know this, Evolution is my favorite faction of all time. I love them, absolutely goated theme song, everything. We were talking about. He asked me who would be the modern day Evolution, where you have the legend, the past, as Triple H addressed it, the past, who was Ric Flair, the legend who would wrestle every once in a while, but he was the legend, like he's the old dude of the group. Then you have the present, which was Triple H. He was, in his mid-30s, winning title belts, popular as hell. And then you have the future, which was Batista and Randy Orton. Now, my question to you, Chance, and I know this is hard because I just literally came up with it, and we could do this together. And I already have one. We could do each or whatever. We could do one together or one separately. But what could possibly be the modern day Evolution with current superstars? And they have to all be, these Sigma males that like, alpha males. You know what I mean? So like, who do you have in your head right now?
So definitely Austin Theory.
Yes, that's who I thought
It
of.
would be something very interesting for him.
Yes,
Definitely Austin Theory.
yes. And you know who could be in the Batista role?
Who's that?
Braun Breaker.
Now that could be interesting, bro. And it's like part of me is like, bro, imagine the manager a heel John Cena, just to lay it on.
Yo, dude, but
Uh,
Braun Breaker and Austin Theory as like the young heads, that would
no,
slap.
that would be good. Would either of the Steiners be good as like the old man running it? I don't like. I mean, they're both.
I mean,
kinda, like, really,
Scott's, yeah, but he wouldn't be able to wrestle. He's just so old.
yeah,
But
yeah.
Scott Steiner, I mean, on the mic would just be legendary.
He just does the sacrifice promo like for war games or something. Like,
You're fat. yo, I
but
can't.
then who would be the present? Like, who would you throw in there with those guys? It would like
One name
that's
that came
really
to mind, Drew McIntyre.
ooh. Ooh, now that would
Drew
be cool.
McIntyre, dude. Just because, like, think about it. Triple H was in his mid 30s, early 30s. Drew McIntyre is in his mid 30s, early 30s. Triple H had already won belts. Drew has won his belts. He's won a Royal Rumble. You know, he's done the thing. He's a big popular guy, like, and him as a heel would just slap.
Dude, yeah, you're right. I like that, man. I wish we could just have Ric Flair be with those guys. It's just,
Now, what Joel was saying, maybe have Randy as the old head,
I could
as
see
the
that.
legend of the group.
That dude, because he was like the youngest of Evolution, so it kind of like now he's like full circle. He's that dude,
He's
you
that
know.
dude. He's the Ric Flair, and he can
Yeah, ooh,
talk on the mic.
like bro, when Batista came back, like his whole retirement match felt like old Evolution beef, which was crazy to
I
me.
loved
Yeah.
it.
I thought like that, and I loved that entire match. I don't know
Yes,
what you thought about
I
that,
thought
but
it
it's
was great.
like,
Yeah,
dude, yeah, it's fantastic. But it's like Batista when he came back and had like the fits and like the suits and everything, man. Obviously, he's a big time Hollywood guy, and he
yeah,
probably wouldn't do it. But I would love that. Would be cool too. Like Randy or him would both be awesome
dude.
as that. Like,
Batista. I actually think Batista's underrated. Super
dude, yeah,
underrated.
I would have, dude. My one of my dream matches, like top 10, him versus Brock Lesnar.
Oh yes,
Like,
yes,
come on.
dude. Like Batista, especially like in his later runs, I appreciated him. Like
Yes,
when he came back for that feud that you're talking about, and he came. I remember. I
he
remember
was
watching that
so
episode.
awesome.
Excuse me. I remember that episode. It was a Monday Night Raw. They were celebrating Ric Flair's like 100th anniversary or whatever it was, and
It's 115.
you know, and he's like, they're all in the ring. They're waiting for him. Whatever. He doesn't come out to the music, and then it cuts to backstage, and Batista's literally dragging him out the room, and he's like. You know, then I forgot what he says to the camera or whatever, and Triple H comes running. I was like, yo, this is
Like,
great. But remember, it's also a tie-in to a couple years before that episode of SmackDown. I think it was like the anniversary of SmackDown or something, and they had Evolution show up, and everybody's saying nice things about each other, and Batista
and
said
then like
something.
Batista wasn't. Yeah,
Yo, and Batista was like, "There's, you know, what did he say? He was something like Triple
and
H
he's never
has
beaten me.
Yeah, he was like Triple H has done everything in this company." And then he's like, except beat me. And I was like, yo, oh, snap. Yo, that was crazy, man.
Yeah, it was
Dude,
beautiful.
dude. And Blue Tista, of course, you know, everybody remembers Blue Tista. And when he was a heel against Cena in like 2010, I really appreciate what Batista's done for the company. And I think that he would be goated. I mean, he is good. He's pretty.
Massacring Ray. You were supposed to be my friend.
Yo,
Man.
just iconic, yo.
Dude, Batista, yeah, I'm so glad he's in the Hall of Fame now. It's
Yeah.
like I just want to see him come out and just hit somebody with a spear, man. It's like,
Is he in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
I thought. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna do some research, ladies and gentlemen.
Hold on, yeah, Jamie, pull that up.
In the Hall of Fame. Was announced as a member of the WWE Hall of Fame's 2020 class. We know what happened in March of that year, which resulted
and
in
he never had his ceremony.
and there was no 2020 Hall of Fame ceremony. So is he just not in the Hall of Fame then? Well, so I think they want to get him to do it again. I think they wanted to get him in there again because they didn't.
Yeah, they're probably planning on him to be free. I
Yeah.
mean, now they wrapped up Guardians, maybe.
Yeah. So that was, you know, my question. Like, what would be the modern day Evolution? And I think that's a stacked, like Drew.
Theory definitely was the first guy that
Yeah.
came to mind.
Yeah.
Theory reminds me of young Randy Orton.
Yes.
Like physique wise, everyone always
100%.
compares him to young John Cena, but I see
I've
way
never
more of,
seen
like,
that.
young Randy Orton.
I've
I've
always
never
seen Orton.
seen young John
I've
Cena.
always
bro.
seen Orton. Yep, me too.
Young Randy Orton, I've seen that a ton, bro. And the dude, his in-ring stuff is crisp, right?
Yeah.
Everything he does in the ring is awesome.
Yeah.
And his character work has had moments of like shine, right? Like
Yeah.
he has like there's so much potential here. I just feel like he's not in a position right now
Yeah,
to do.
he's
You know
not.
what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it's almost like you have to get some of these trial runs of the belt out of the way, and
Yeah,
I'm over this run. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like he could lose it and then win it again as a cooler character, a cooler version of himself, and I'd be back on it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? He's just got to like lose this belt right
yeah,
now. I don't think he's gonna get to where they're wanting him to be
yeah.
within this title reign
Right.
just because of what we've already seen
Yeah,
and where the fans are at with it. And it's nothing. It's not a knock on Theory at all. Again, like the dude, he great shape, great technique,
yeah,
everything about like what he's doing. It's just like LA Knight needs that belt right
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Realistically,
yeah.
that's the person that needs to be holding that
Yeah.
belt right now.
Well,
And I mean, he
yeah,
Theory could even like like get a title shot and lose, but elevate himself a little bit and
yeah,
then go back to something
yeah.
else. You know.
The one thing that I connect Theory with Cena is I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's an episode. There was this show called Ruthless Aggression, which was
Mhm.
perfect. It was like they were talking about Ruthless Aggression is my favorite era, so they were just talking about all about it. And when Cena's episode came up and talked about his upbringing in WWE, remember after. So what he said was after the slap to Kurt Angle, the Ruthless
Yeah.
Aggression thing,
Mhm.
they didn't know what to do with his character because like he was just this generic dude that just came out of nowhere. He was getting booed, and that's when Doctor of Thugonomics came in, and he
Mhm.
just became who
They
he
put the
became.
jorts on. Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So I think
And if you remember the original, like there was a weird transition phase where like he had wrestling boots on and knee
and the
pads
yup.
and the jorts, and like it was so
It
weird.
was so weird, yeah. But yeah. So I think Theory needs something like an evolution where he's like the young protege and like
Mhm.
just can dominate and just show him, but without having to do it all himself. Because that's the problem. He
Yeah,
cannot. He talks like 2015 Roman. That's where he's
yeah,
at right now.
it's I would love to see him put in a position like a better version because when Vince tried it, it failed, and the
Yeah.
most satisfying thing in the world was after Vince was out of creative for a bit, and then Roman was like, "Yo, Daddy ain't
Yeah,
here
that
no
was
more."
that was great.
That was one of
Yeah,
the coldest things ever.
yeah,
God,
yeah,
but I think it's one of those things where if you had him put in a position where like 2014 Seth was, where like it was with the Authority and like he was that guy, you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like I think Theory would do really
He
good in
would.
that
Yeah,
position as a
he
heel.
would.
It's just like as like the actual heel, like forced
Yeah,
like that kind of golden child
yeah.
for him to eventually break out of that, you know what I mean, or whatever it is. Like
I agree.
would
I agree.
that would be great for his character because I mean obviously they're wanting him to eventually be some sort of like dude like some sort of top guy, so
Yeah.
it's like if we were wanting him to be a face, I'm not sure, but it's like him as a face right now I think would just be painfully like create a wrestler.
Yeah.
So I hope him as a heel is interesting, and he has moments where he's super interesting as a heel, like where he said he beat Cena at WrestleMania and made him show up as a mermaid in Barbie or whatever, like
Do you see
that,
like that's dope? Yeah.
like that's like it's good stuff.
Yeah.
And like that line when he was gonna fight Ray, it was so cold. Because he was talking about how he had beaten Cena and he had beaten Edge and everybody, and he was talking about how he beat Ray and how he was gonna add more to his collection.
They
Like when he
should have
started,
that
they should have
I don't
gone
mean
with the
to
collection thing, bro.
I
Like,
I don't mean to cut you off, but I remember that. I remember when he beat Ray that night. I was like, I told Joel because we were watching together. I was like, yo, they're gonna make him into like a modern day legend killer.
Legend killer. Yeah.
I was like, let's go, and then that just died. Like nothing
Yeah.
came out of that. Like, and I was just like,
And he just has not done anything
it
since.
hasn't done
It-
anything. Yeah.
so yeah.
But also, I think Braun Breaker as the enforcer of the group, as like the young enforcer who will destroy
Solo
you,
Sikoa.
dude. He would kill that role, and I like him so much better as a heel now. Like he's just so much better. Braun Breaker would just thrive in that role. I
Now,
really think so.
Now imagine this twist. Paul Heyman betrays Roman with Solo, and Solo's the Batista. Like that, and so Paul Heyman builds this group with Theory, and Paul Heyman's like the Flair, or
The
whatever.
Paul
you know what I
Heyman
mean?
guys. Yep.
Like the Paul, like right, like Paul Heyman guys, and like it's
Yeah.
like Solo or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
That could also be a thing. But dude, yeah, Braun Breaker needs to hurry up and get to the main roster
agree.
already and do something. I'm ready for him to make a splash, dude, because
agree.
he's got the stuff. You know,
Yep, he does.
I don't see him trying to win I don't see why he's with the NXT title stuff still. Like,
Yeah.
he just needs to come
Yeah.
on.
I agree. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we have concluded today's episode, and we got to
There you
talk
have
about a lot of fun stuff. And next week is going to be a special one. We'll officially do the first Chamber
Predictions.
Pod predictions. We'll bring in our predictions of who's going to win the match. Then afterwards, we will decide, what winner gets, and then what loser gets.
Loser has to get put in a sharpshooter for 15 minutes.
By Bret Hart himself. And, so we'll figure that out. But yes, thank you for joining in for episode 2 of the Chamber Pod. Stay tuned for more special stuff. And you want to say
Next
bye,
week will be
Chance?
spicy.
That's right. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm very excited. And also, man, we're about to enter August. So it's a SummerSlam season and
That's
All
right.
Out.
All
Another
Out,
hype.
which we will be streaming live.
Ooh, yes.
And
Yes.
SummerSlam as well. We'll be doing a watch along for that. And, it'll be a lot of fun. So thank you guys. Love everybody. Stay tuned, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.